everybody. Nice to have you here. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things today. I'm going to go pretty quickly, okay? But we're going to look into the past, and we're going to see where we've been, and we're going to look at what's happening now, and then we're going to look into the future, right? And I thought this quote was pretty interesting when you think about it. It's not so much that we're going to make it cheap, it's we're going to make it so efficient, right, that only the rich will burn candles, and we're going to figure out who the rich are by the end of this presentation. So when you think about it, and you look at just a simple example, I'm just pressing click here, and it's not clicking. Anyone? Rick? There we are. Let's go back. What a difference a pope makes. Right? Let's stop and look at that for a second. Do you guys remember when your pockets were like this big, full of stuff, and you had a dedicated device for everything? Right? And you've got this guy with a camcorder up there. That's pretty amazing. That's 2005, right? 2013, look at the new pope coming in. What a difference. Technology changes so quickly, integrates itself with our lives so fast we don't even realize it's happening, right? So what's been happening with advertising? Well, look at newspapers. 300-year-old advertising channel, right? In the last 10 years has changed forever, right? When you look at radio, you see a similar curve starting to happen, right? TV, something else similar is happening, potentially, still growing. But then, of course, you look at digital, and the growth is incredible. Right? So technology is changing so fast, advertising is changing along with it, and these things happen before we even realize it. So this got me thinking a bit about my past, and so I'm 38, sorry, right? The last 10 years of advertising, I've worked at two companies. I worked at Yahoo through Overture and Adconian Media Group, which is where I work now, right? And what I realized is in 2003, when I look back on it, we were spending all of our time simply explaining what online advertising was. You guys remember those days at all? Right? I mean, this was an incredible time, right? If you were sort of highlighting this was Google search or natural, right? And if you said the word algorithmic, you were like, people didn't understand you, right? Don't say the word algorithmic results. Bad idea, right? Or even we go back even further, the first banner ad, right? So we're spending all this time, and I remember having these conversations with some of these CMOs at the time, right? Does that mean I get to advertise on those AOL discs? Any of this ringing a bell a little bit? Personal favorite was talking to one of these Fortune 500 guys at the time who said, why do I need to spend money online? I don't even have internet at my house. Okay, so, and I'm a little bit of a sales guy, so I had, following up on that. Okay, how have you been then replying to my emails? Pretty reasonable, right? He's like, oh, yeah. No, actually, that's my secretary printing those emails out, reading them to me, right? And then she's replying back to you. I'm like, wow, I want one of those. Okay. And what you realize is that 10 years ago, right, the entire online advertising industry, the spend in the United States was $7 billion. That was just 10 years ago, right? Display advertising today alone is $8 billion. Just display, right? And when you add in search and everything else, about $40 billion, right? So what you'd realize as you step back is that you guys, call you the holistic agency on the whole, you guys have this tremendous opportunity. If sort of the average age of an agency employee might be 28, you have one of the biggest opportunities in the last 100 years in front of your career right now. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is like goosebumps time, right? You're not spending your time trying to explain the interwebs, right, to people in online advertising. You guys have everything in front of you. You have a $40 billion industry that's growing at 20% a year, right? So what an incredible time. So then the next question you ask yourself is, oh, God, okay, sounds good. I feel a little of the goosebumps, kind of excited, but what do I do next, right? So here's a take on what you might do and how you might look at the problem. So the first thing for me is you have to focus on the consumer state. It's a very important piece to understanding the puzzle here. What is the consumer actually doing? Second thing is there's massive disruption happening all around us, and that will force the agencies to evolve along with the advertisers. And the third thing is there's one-to-one marketing that's going to be available to us in the future that's true closed-loop marketing, right? So when we look at the consumer state, does this look familiar? Is this sort of old TV to you guys? This is the sort of 1970s, 1980s, 70 million people would tune into All in the Family and watch TV. That was an average night. 70 million viewers would watch All in the Family, okay? This is what it's like today, though. Let's be honest, right? It's just no longer none of us sitting around doing it that way. It's a multi-state environment that we're all in, consuming TV. And Google did this really interesting study, right? They talked to 4,500 people, and I thought, okay, Google did the study, so the thing that's going to come back is the number one activity people are doing when they're in this multi-screen environment is search, right? Number one activity is email. Can you believe that? Right? Second is internet browsing. The third is social networking. Those numbers are slightly off. There's an edit there. But number one is email, right? So how many TV planners are in the room? People have planned TV or currently plan TV. Yeah? Okay, how many TV planners have put email and TV on a single I/O? No one, right? But that's the state the consumer is in. The number one activity is email or browsing or social, depending on how you're doing, right? Same thing with mobile. We need to stop thinking about mobile as if it's some kind of like advertising silo. It's like, it's actually a technology feature, right? If I'm lying at home on my couch for 3 hours with my tablet, how does that make me a mobile user? I don't know. Not really, right? At the end of the day, it's just another device in the house that you have the opportunity to advertise against, right? And again, when you look at the research, the top activities that are advertising relevant, the center study is from Pew Research, so Pew is pretty reputable, right? Pew Research Center says it's email, it's news, it's games, it's social media. Those are the channels that you're advertising on when you want to reach people in a mobile environment, right? So don't think, I want to throw money at mobile. Think, I want to throw money at the state the consumer's in mobile, right? And it's those kinds of media types. Anyone know what this is? Looks kind of like a tablet. Is there any way to get the middle screen up as well, showing my presentation? Anyone know what that is? Kind of looks like a tablet. Smart TV? Yeah, that's actually a TV, right? And in Europe, you get people raise their hands immediately. They say, oh yeah, I have one, right? The US has been slower to adopt TV, but this is what TV looks like now. This isn't the TV of the future. TV actually has a homepage, right? It has an integrated experience that you can advertise against. It has social networking built into it. It has apps built into it. There are thousands of smart TV and connected apps being built right now and available to consumers, right? And at the end of the day, you can do so much more with TV today than has traditionally been done or planned, right? When you think about that fundamental shift, how fast is it happening in the US? It's still pretty slow, right? But it's gaining traction, and the momentum is there already. 18% of US homes have a smart TV, 33% in 2015, right? So when you get back to that 5 hours a day that Nielsen says, you know, the average consumer spends watching TV, and you spend $70 billion against it, if you think what is the consumer state, that planning is going to look much different in the future, especially when there's smart TVs hitting a critical mass in the United States, right? So that $70 billion is just simply not going to go in one direction. It's got to go in multiple directions, right? So the best ad planners in the world map their plans to the consumer state, not the advertising silo and not the advertising channel. That's the right way to think about it, especially in the future as all these devices continue to fragment and all these different options are for consumers and be able to do things, right? So the next piece of this is the disruption that's coming. This is so exciting. So the reason there's been so many silos in advertising in the past is because content and distribution have been locked into these silos, right? If you think about the devices that we all use, the remote controls, right, the over-the-top boxes, right? These things are going away. You've got now the ability to use Kinect-style interfaces to navigate on a TV. You've got laser pointer type remotes. You've got content and distribution now being directly produced by technology companies like Netflix, like Amazon. It's pretty incredible, right? Unbundling is already here. People talk about bundling and unbundling all the time. YouTube is the biggest unbundled channel in the world, right? And I'd say that probably their business model's working, right? So unbundling is coming, right? And then advertising isn't going to be locked into those silos any longer. The 30-second spot that you have to just simply lock into a linear TV program, it's gone. When you have smart TV, when you have these multiple devices, You can move out of that 30-second spot. You can move to an interactive unit. You don't have to target 18 to 49-year-olds. I guarantee you people will look back at that targeting and laugh and say, you got to be kidding me. You targeted half of everybody? Like, how about we target one person? Okay, right? So those silos are going to come down, and what you'll start to realize is there's this cross-channel platform that's going to allow, for the first time, these advertising silos to be broken down, and you'll be able to distribute, target, and show ads to people in ways that you've never have before. So it couldn't be a better time for an agency right now, right? And so how is that going to force the agency to evolve? Well, you're living in a world that's fairly static still at some level, especially with some of the bigger clients. Long planning cycles. There's not really an effective GRP online yet. You're dealing with last click, last view, which is sort of, I don't know, best effort. You've got 30-second spots. You're on a flat agency fee. Maybe a trading desk is taking a percentage, right? But where I think this goes to is something much more dynamic. Maybe to monthly planning cycles, to an all-media GRP. Definitely fractional attribution, because if you have everything distributed digitally, right, you can measure it across these channels and across these silos, right? And you're not going to have 30-second spots. You're going to have interactive units that users will be able to actually select and opt into and say, yes, I want to share this. I want to interact with it. And as an agency, I'm going to be ready to say, well, wait a minute. Maybe I could actually work on a performance fee. Maybe I could actually work on a sales revenue share, right? Because you're going to have a deep relationship with that advertiser's data and that advertiser creative. So where does that mean in terms of the evolution and what the roadmap is? The organization should be integrated. I've heard a lot of agencies say they're integrated, and then you say, where's your digital team? And they say, floor 16. And you say, where's your TV team? And they say, floor 47. And I go, well, when was the last time you were on floor 47? They go, I've never been to floor 47, right? So how are you actually an integrated agency, right? So you should integrate now, even if your clients aren't, right? The math major is going to be huge, right? Obviously, everything is going to be data-driven. Dynamically, you're going to need to look at understanding how to approve creatives on a massive scale. You're going to have to integrate deeply with your client's sales data, because that sales data is going to become available and give you the best optimization, right, available. And then you're going to have to understand technology and make sure you choose the right vendors to work with. The final piece of the puzzle is one-to-one marketing, right? And we've been showing this presentation for a little while, and people always like this part, which is, what is the vision for advertising in Google Glasses? Right? And now that Google's come out with this, obviously, we know a little bit more about what the Google interface actually looks like. But at the end of the day, imagine all of the functionality of that smart TV, all the functionality of a smartphone, a tablet, everything put right in front of your face, right? So that means you have facial recognition, right? So when you're walking across the street, you might just look at someone and go, oh, should I add them, to my circles or send them a message, right? Horrible moment there, I think, probably, right? Ultimate stalker moment, really bad, okay? All right, so then, all right, but what about gaming? So you can integrate gaming into the actual Google interface, right? So maybe you're out, you're sort of playing this game where you have to blast these aliens to get across the street or whatever, right? But in the meantime, you almost got hit by a car, right? Because you're running around in the street playing this game, but your eye dwelled on that car for longer than you thought was necessary, right? And the system looked at what you saw, mapped that to an advertisement, and said, you know what? There's actually a local dealer around the corner. So let's show you an ad. Because I know what city you're in, I know what geography you're in, I know something about you. I'm ready to start to try and cross-sell you this car. I think you're in market for one, right? Or how about this one? This one's even funnier. This guy that you just walked by, in his suit, he's got an RFID tag, and he's broadcasting information about his clothing, where he bought this Armani suit, right? You thought it was cool looking, right? Recognized that you actually, through a loyalty program, had already purchased an Armani suit, but there was a new sale on. And it says in the next 5 minutes, if you can go 0.3 miles, you can get 30% off this suit. And can't you imagine the moment in New York City where you're just walking down the street and like 50 people turn around the other direction and just start running, right? I mean, it's going to happen, right? Okay. Then, of course, there's branding, right? And this is where, for the agency, it becomes tremendously valuable, right? Because essentially, inventory is everything. Anything in real life could be an advertising opportunity, That's what's so incredible about this technology, right? So if you just look at a logo, you can animate the logo, for example. Or what about the whole, homepage takeover? Well, this isn't a homepage. This is like a face page. I don't even know what to call it, right? But if let's say you said, I'm going to buy out all of the inventory in Austin, okay, for Coca-Cola for the next 30 minutes, and it was raining, and you sort of step back for a second, and the whole city starts to become branded Coke, right? You look up into the sky, right? And you start to go, okay, this is a way that we can really understand how to reach consumers continually in a one-to-one interface directly to them with the message that I want to reach them with, right? And so when you go back to all this ad spending and you look at it, what you realize is that there's all this evolution happening right beneath our feet, just like between the two popes, right? And when people talk about the death of TV or the death of print or the death of radio, it's not ever going to die. There is no end of these things. It's just going to evolve. All of them are right now evolving into a digital distribution system, right, and platform. And that evolution is going to then combine into a single platform that will allow you guys to reach anyone through that platform. But that combined spend and that combined growth rate could easily be over $200 billion, right, the next 10 years. And we're living in the time when that's going to happen, okay? So what does the future media plan look like? Well, let's take a look at it quickly, right? Pragmatic planning across traditional and digital methods, right? Targeting the consumer in the state that they're in, regardless of the device, so you're device agnostic. Remember, mobile doesn't exist, it's just a state, right? Using all media GRPs, measuring with a measurement system that looks at everything holistically, right? You don't have Nielsen for one and something for something else, right? Using algorithmic creatives delivered through a centralized distribution system, okay? I'm warming up here, right? Looking in real time at all of these bids on all the exchanges using RTB, right, to find the users that you actually need, using true fractional attribution, targeting all audiences at once or down to a single person, right, while you've actually integrated with your advertisers' sales data and CRM system to get real-time point-of-sale results on how effective your advertising is, while you're working with them to back out to a total lifetime value metric, right? And you're willing to collect your agency fee against a percentage of revenue shared or sold, right? And do it in real time, right? No problem, right? Okay, so that's waving the wand and looking to the future, right? So what does Adconian do? We work with 77 of the top 100 advertisers across display, mobile, social, connected TV, email. We have an integrated technology platform that we use to reach content owners, app developers, device manufacturers with your messages, right? So that the next time there's a pope, right, maybe it'll look something like this, right? We won't have all this stuff anymore. We won't even be looking down at our phones, right? But at the end of the day, this is your time. This is your guys' moment, right? And it's a pretty exciting time, and it couldn't be a better time to be at an agency and be working with advertisers. So the next 10 years are your years, and I hope you guys are ready because it's going to be fantastic. Thanks.